Japan has so much to offer the traveler that it would take a lifetime to see all of the most visited sites, let alone its hidden wonders. Most people visit Japan for 7 to 10 days and spend every moment racing here and there, trying to take in all of the popular attractions like Skytree, Tokyo Tower, and the many temples and shrines. But even those who extend their visits only just begin to experience what this beautiful country has to offer. Even those who have lived all of their lives in Japan seldom take in more than a fraction of its offerings. Yoyogi Park in Shibuya is but one example. Now, Yoyogi Park, you ask in disbelief, there is nothing special about this place except that it lies adjacent to the Meiji Temple grounds. Its pathways, fountains, play and picnic areas, and cherry blossoms are well known to tourists and denizens alike. And to be sure, you would be correct, but hiding in clear sight and often overlooked are hints of the park's past. One such place is the quaint little wooden house near the Harajuku entrance that seems out of place in this bucolic setting. The sign in front of the house states that this is the Olympic Memorial House, preserved to commemorate that this area served as housing for the athletes attending the 1964 Olympic Games. But beyond this description is another layer of history that perhaps the Japanese people prefer not to recall. That most of what is now Yoyogi Park served as housing for the U.S. military occupation forces after Japan surrendered in World War II. Thousands of military members poured into Japan along with their families, creating a need for housing. Several compounds like Grant Heights, Pershing Heights, and Jefferson Heights were established around the Tokyo area. Another, Washington Heights, was built in 1946 in what is now Yoyogi Park. It remained in use until 1963, just prior to the Olympics. Covering an area of 280 acres, Washington Heights was home to 87 housing units for up to 2,000 U.S. military families and civilian workers. It took on the appearance of typical military base housing of the 1950s, complete with single and two-story dwellings for families and larger buildings for single personnel. One area set aside for the usual support facilities included a school, a multi-denominational church, a theater, BX and commissary, and an officers' club, among other structures. The housing complex was fenced off and access controlled by guarded gates. Japanese citizens were not permitted to enter the area unless employed, as were many Japanese men and women who served as maids, nannies, and handymen. With the upcoming 1964 Olympic Games, the Japanese government wanted this area returned to its control since many of the events would be in or near this area, and land was needed to build the National Gymnasium and the adjacent swimming venue. The military housing would save costs by serving as housing for the 7,000 or so expected athletes. The transfer was completed in 1963, with the Japanese government bearing the full cost of establishing similar quarters for the evacuating military families to other housing compounds like those at Grant Heights and Chofu. Thanks to the memoirs of those who as children lived in Washington Heights, the memorial house has been identified on the map as house number 257. It is a single-family dwelling and was probably an officers' quarters. During the 1964 Olympics, the structure was used by members of the Dutch Olympic team. After the Games, the remaining housing units were demolished to convert the area into an inner-city park, the Yoyogi Forest Green Park that exists today. This is the entrance. It's the Harajuku entrance to Yoyogi Park. This is the entrance with the famous circle in the plaza. And Yoyogi Park is significant in that after Japan surrendered and the U.S. troops needed housing, they took over this area, which used to be a parade field for the Imperial Japanese Army. And I believe there was also an airfield here as well, because there's a monument to the first Japan flight. So they took over this area and essentially built a city called Washington Heights. And it was Washington Heights which made the little hamlet of Shibuya famous, because the military needed food and shopping facilities, and that started the build-up of Shibuya. So as you turn around, you can see the entrance area here. And this square, or circle, which leads to the entry to the park. There are a couple of things that I want to accomplish on this visit to the park. Number one, to see the lone remaining military housing house, and also the disappearing bathroom. That lone house is the remnant. I would imagine they were officers' quarters, because it was a single house. And what happened is, during the 1964 Olympics that Japan held, the U.S. finally gave this property over to Japan, and they used the army barracks to house the athletes. After the Olympics, they tore all of that down and made this a park, and also a lot of athletic activities and so forth. So that is the aim today, and we'll continue on. Entry to Yoyogi Park. The circle is back there. We're going through one of the gates, the Harajuku gate. So starting here at this food and beverage, we want to go this way. And I believe this is the way to the flower garden. Apparently you can, I think you can rent bicycles over there. And straight ahead is the only remaining military housing structure from post-World War II. This is amazing. I've seen it on Google Maps over and over. And here we are, a remnant of the past. Washington Heights.
Like
that's cool.
Yes. I thought that too. It was dead. There might be a
That's our
So it's called the Olympic Memorial House. But you could see that this looks like 1950s military housing, or maybe it was an office. It's good that they left at least one of the structures here. I know this should bring back memories for a lot of people my age who were stationed here with their parents after the war.